Hello once again, and welcome to this week's Natural 9, where I do everything I can to condense Critical Role into 9 minutes, and then fail spectacularly. Just spectacularly. I'm, as always, your host, Arthur from Natural 9, and there was just a lot of things that happened, a lot of really dangerous things, and just thinking about the very thing that happened. Well, we'll get to it in a bit, but just be ready. This is gonna be a doozy. Now, before the show even begins, it is, after all, a tradition, or at least it looks like it's a tradition now. The week of or before Halloween, the Critical Role crew decides to dress up in costumes. Last year it was various fictional characters. This year, it's various fictional characters that they're very familiar with. In fact, the entire crew was dressed as NPCs from Critical Role. We had my personal favorite, Marisha, dressed as Ellen Ripley. God damn it. Oh, we had Marisha as Dr. Anna Ripley, not the other thing that I just said. We had Sam Riegel as the Rakshasa we all love, Hotis. We had Taliesin as Chloroda. He didn't get his little mask, his elven mask, until later, but when he got it, it was great. We had Liam O'Brien dressed as Tyriaka Gadsworth, our favorite map maker. The married couple was the married couple, with Laura Bailey being Lady Delilah and Travis Willingham being Lord Silas. Yeah, the Briarwoods were around. It was a bit of a creepy dinner, if you ask me. But none of them could really top Matt. Oh man, to see Matt Mercer dressed up as fucking Victor the gunpowder salesman, and of course he greeted us at the beginning of the broadcast with the classic Victor voice. And unfortunately he did not DM with that voice. He actually maintained his regular voice the entire night. But the fact that he had the costume on made things a little awkward during very crucial, pivotal moments of at least the first half of the episode. The second half, everyone seemed to be back to normal, seemed to be able to power through it. But a lot of giggles were had, a lot of fun was had, and just, oh man, I was hoping that they would have a battle just to hear Matt say, how do you want to do this? Well, with that bit of the intro, let's go ahead and get right in. So, picking up where we last left off. We pick up exactly where we were last week. Keyleth making some trees for the Ravenites, everyone else getting ready to go back to Whitestone. Vex and Percy, well, yeah, you know, so adorable, okay? It's the most adorable. Plans are discussed. The first thing that everyone says should be done is getting the hell out of Dodge. They worry a bit about the fact that Kashaw was supposed to get a creature from them but ended up not using it, of course, because of that little idea with Yank. So the crew returns to Whitestone, which is totally fine. Assume, who I am now going to refer as Rysum, because, you know, she's Ryshan. She's not actually Assume. That person is back, waiting for them at the entrance to the castle. It's early as heck, but Rysum is waiting. Kima's still a little pissed off that they decided to work with a dragon, but Keyleth, of all people, tells her to stand down a little bit, just so they don't cause a lot of trouble. Assume then tells Kima that everything's going to be okay, then places a hand on her shoulder and does something. Kiki tries to counter. The counter doesn't work. This time Rysum succeeded where Scanlan's short halt had failed. Her memory was modified and she had no idea that Rysum was a thing. As far as she knew, his name is Assume. She heads off to train with her new Holy Avenger, completely happy. Raira informs them that Kashaw had just returned from his excursion to Vasselheim. He's sleeping it off because he had to come back the long way because he didn't have Kiki to throw him into a tree like last time. Apparently, Assume is actually supposed to be meeting up with Laura, Drake Thunderbrand, and some others to discuss something like the next step. The gang then deposits their things, you know, the things that they were carrying, like the dragon hide that Grog has been dragging around. Vax is pulled aside by Kiki, who really wants to kill Ryshan. She just wants to fucking do it right now. Vax is very opposed to this, but tells her that if she really wants to, he'll follow her wherever she needs to go. But he manages to talk her down anyway. I'm not gonna lie, it's scary to see Marisha at her angriest when she's dressed as Anna Ripley. It was quite the thing to behold. Now that they've returned to Whitestone, the party decides on what they want to do next. Specifically, they need to talk to a bunch of people, get as much information as they can of the goings-on inside of Whitestone, They also need to find out about this meeting that's happening later in the day. While this is happening, Percy reminds everyone to not make plans to kill Raishan, because she'll find out, and right now it's not in their best interest to kill her. No matter how much certain people want to fucking kill her. Certain Ashari druids. I'm talking about Keith. He just says that it should not be done just to play it safe, because Whitestone and all. Grog heads to drop off the Dragonhide. Vax sneaks off to Gilmore's. They talk a little bit about what happened with Voragol. Vax thinks he's going to be dead in a few days and decides to apologize to Gilmore for not treating him fairly with their whole romantic subplots, and tells him that he still very much loves him as a friend. Gilmore shuts that shit down immediately because there was nothing to apologize for. He'll move on, he'll find someone more his speed, and he's thankful for what he has with Vax. Gilmore then tells Vax that he'd better come back. They're still friends, and he still needs them to pimp his brand. Business is business, and no one loves business more than Gilmore. Vax leaves, saying goodbye to Gilmore, but Gilmore, once again, shuts that shit down. Tells him to say until next time. Vex and Kiki then search for Cash. No response from his door, so they decide, hey, it's a good idea to open the door and wake up the quasi-paranoid, incredibly unlucky cleric. Fortunately, he's out like a nightlight on his bed, half of his armor off. The other half's still there because he didn't even make it through all that. Vex wakes him up. He jumps up, completely ready to kill whoever's in the room. Fortunately, he doesn't, because the girls talk him down a little bit. In fact, he gives them great news. Slayer's Take was able to provide 2 contracts for creatures in Wildmounts. Some purple worm matron thing that's huge. Apparently it was a big deal. Or a storm giant. It would have been very difficult to get into the area in Wildmount where they were, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And both of them would have been incredible to take on Voragol. If Voragol wasn't dead. Cash doesn't take it that well.
Unless Voragol's already dead.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? If he just was
What do we do with his contracts if he is?
Yeah.
Just wondering about that.
Get out of my room.
No. Cash.
Just get out.
Cash.
Get out of my room.
Look,
Your help has been.
not
Out.
overlooked at all.
We should
My
probably
room.
go.
We should probably go.
Do you want these back?
Out
Do
of
you
my
want
room.
I'm just gonna set them down
Out
on
of
the
You
my
ground.
know, we
I'm
could,
Get out of my room.
By the way, you might want to get like a mouth guard or something because you snore a little.
You leave him in silence and darkness. Out of my room!
So after that little disaster, Vex and Kiki get the hell out of there and then immediately start having girl talk. Just about the kisses and their relationships, checking in with each other. Kiki a little bit awkward, but still very happy for Vex. The most giggling, all of the giggles. Shopping sprees are discussed. It's about as girly as they get. I mean, they're allowed to be girly. Who gives a shit? While that all happens, Grog decides that he's gonna be the new Secretary of the Treasury and starts dividing up the gold. He's not very good at it, as to be expected. He's just so bad at it. So bad at the numbers. Percy just gets the hell out of that because he doesn't want anything to do with it. Instead, he finds his sister. She doesn't even look up. She's just like, oh, hey, you're still here. We talk about the dragons, this new meeting that's gonna happen, and the future of Whitestone. She's a little scared for it, but she's holding up. Percy, of course, being the Percy that he is, gives Cassandra a note, written in Elven, because he knows that she can read it. Be prepared for anything today. Cass is cool with the letter, but she wants to talk about taking some of that burden that she's been handling off of her at some point in the future. Maybe after the dragons. After that, Percy then writes a letter to the jewelers that the DeRollo family usually use that are still in Whitestone. I wonder what that's about. Scanlan then looks for Jarrett. He's checking in on the mission. The drugs. He's talking about the drugs, because why wouldn't he be talking about drugs? He's the breaking bard. We've lost him. Jarrett apparently has the people, but still needs some time. And he's worried about Scanlan. I mean, he doesn't understand why Scanlan all of a sudden wants to pick up a really bad habit. Apparently, to take the edge off of recent fights. He's having a bit of an existential crisis. Jarrett suggests instead of picking up the drugs, he should go get laid, because back then, it helped him out, apparently. At that point, a whole bunch of instrumental comparisons to penises are involved. I shall not talk of those because, again, I am not a sick guy. They discuss a little bit more about Scanlan's motivation. He now has a purpose in his life, of course referring to Kaylee, and he thinks it's messing with his mojo. Jarrett suggests maybe getting a keepsake from that purpose in his life. Scanlan takes the suggestion into consideration. In fact, he's actually really happy that Jarrett's kind of wise. Jarrett blames the barkeeps he talks to, but he still wants the drugs because it's funny as hell, I guess. I don't know. Don't do drugs, kids. Seriously, don't do drugs. Jarrett then punches Scanlan in the face so that he can live to return the favor. Yeah, Grog also marks a courtyard as his territory. The only way someone like Grog would know how. So many dicks. So many dicks in this episode. Vax and Scanlan meet up while Vax is looking for Kynan. Scanlan and Vax have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, just talking about how they're feeling. Vax being very happy that there's someone in his life. Scanlan is, of course, still convinced that Vax is completely gay, not just bisexual. Vax doesn't do anything to change that perception by telling Scanlan that he is so hung. Vax's boyfriend is so hung. Dicks. So many penises. It's like fucking Omegle. Returning to non-dick related, it kind of is related to being dickish, so. Returning to not dick related matters, Vax checks in on Kynan. He seems to be okay, but he's actually being shy, hanging back, not quite making friends or creating camaraderie between himself and the other guard of Whitestone. Vax tells him about the dragons, how they're falling one by one, and tells him to do 3 things. Embrace the people of Whitestone like full leap of fate shit. Keep an eye on Cassandra Derolo because kinda feels like maybe he owes Percy that at least. And to take care of good old Simon the Belt Snake. Fan artists, you know what to do. He also tells Kynan to believe in second chances. Kynan, of course, already knows this for a fact because he's living one. After all this is done, everyone is gathered to the meeting, which takes place in the old war room, not the new one. The one that Vox Machina specifically had commissioned so that they wouldn't have to deal with magic or scrying or anything like that. While they're going on their way to the meeting, Keyleth and Grog have their own little heart-to-heart. Something that's very rare, but something that I'm really liking, especially with their talks recently about controlling their rage. Which, again, is something that Keyleth is surprised by. The fact that Grog, of all people, is telling her to be patient. Kiki asks him how he manages to keep his rage inside of him. It's very simple. It's one word. Family. He loves his family in Vox Machina, and knows that if he ever goes off the handle, it'll fuck with them. It'll fuck up their chances. It'll destroy whatever they're working for. And that's something he never wants to do. He really has grown as a character. Oh man, Grog, I just want to hug the big guy. Oh man. Still though, again, Grog Kiki moments, they're rare and they're beautiful. Now the meeting begins. Vox Machina, of course, being joined by Allura, Gilmore, Drake Thunderbrand, Cassandra, Rysum, and I believe that's it. Allura is, of course, happy to see her old friends safe and sound. Kiki and Vex decide to stand next to Rysum, who refuses a seat by Percy, because why would he sit there? The fight between Vorgol, Yank, and Vox Machina is discussed, and the Spire of Conflux is displayed. So everyone is happy to hear that, of course. But, unfortunately, Thordak's wrath is probably going to be sparked because of this. As far as they know, he definitely knows that Vorgol's down. He's going to rage through the countryside, and other cities, other less protected cities, are probably going to feel the brunt of it. Allura has been gathering allies and says it's probably time to take the fight directly to Thordak himself, which is a bit surprising to the crew. But of course, she's not stupid. She knows that they need a plan. Allura is convinced that the stone that the original Dragon Busters laid into him, or used to try to seal him in the elemental plane of fire, might be to blame for the power that we're seeing from Thordak, the ability for him to shape the land the way that it's being shaped. Because if you recall, the Cloudtop District in Iman is now a lava pit, basically turning it into some sort of volcanic mountainous area. The longer the waits, the more destruction it'll see. But assume, again, being the cautious one, wants way more information before they actually make a strike. Whitestone is definitely not going to be safe much longer. Funny enough, Drake's actually concerned with Raishan and what she's doing. Vox Machina agrees that maybe cutting off the head first would be the most important thing. They're sure that Raishan will show up later. They got a feeling. Allura then does the best thing and the worst thing. She offers herself up as bait because Thordak still got some beef. After all, she was one of the people that sealed him in the elemental plane of fire in the first place. Yeah, I mean, that's an option. That's an option that's on the table, but Percy looks at another option. He's pretty sure there's something on that boat back in Draconia. You know, the one with the golden mast? I'm still convinced that there's not, but they apparently are. More options are weighed, like, for example, using the orb, the siphon, whatever you want to call it, that's downstairs, or maybe getting some info from the clasp. Rysum volunteers to get that information, but Scanlan's opposed to that. I mean, why can't he bring them here, or why can't he get the information some other way? Then, the possibility that Ryshan herself might have information on how to break the stone, the thing that's inside of Thordak. Maybe. Vex feels like she might not actually know. Kiki has completely different feelings, not the shippy kind. Thordak's army is discussed. There's lizard folks, fire giants, the terrible terrain, all stuff that he pulled from the elemental plane of fire. They figure that maybe the way to do so is to get Thordak away from Iman, but that's probably not going to happen, according to Rysum. And then he reminds them they have allies all over the world. It's time to call them together, Titans together style. I'm sure, like, 2 of you will get that reference. I mean, no, more people will get that reference. People liked Teen Titans. It was good. They figure that there's 2 ways to go about this. Power through inside of Iman, taking out anything that they need to take out, or distract their allies with their own allies. While all that's discussed, saving anyone that's not going to be involved in the fight is briefly discussed, as well as where they need to gather their forces. Laura also brings up the point that they need to do some recon. One other point is brought up. Thordak is still growing. Keyleth is convinced that there's some connection to the elemental plane of fire that's making him continue to grow. The Ashari might have an idea of how to see what's going on. Rysum is going to go ahead and take a look at that on his own. And then the party once again brings up the point that maybe it's time to bring together all their allies, including Jamon Sword, who they seem to think maybe they shouldn't. Which I thought was a little weird, but, you know, it's whatever. While contemplating all this, Percy gets up, walks around, thinking about exactly what they should do next. And then he fucking stabs Ryshan in the back. He fucking... What? God, what? But he doesn't actually hit her because, of course, she's not there. She's using an illusion somewhere. She dodges the hell out of the way. Percy says that if they're gonna do this, if they're gonna do all of this, there's no more room for tricks. It's time for her to give up the goat. Oh god, so after Percy goes all stabby stab, Ryshan's like, what the fuck, bro? Allure's like, what the hell, bro? Hashtag let Allura say fuck. Everyone else is very confused, but Ryshan can see that her hand has been forced, and she comes clean, letting everyone know that she is the greenest of green dragons. Also that she's sick. Allura is on edge. Cass is very scared. Percy's very much aware of the fact that he may have just fucked everyone over and everyone's about to fucking die. But she talks. She tells him all about the ritual that got Thordak out of the fire plane in the first place. That rock, that anchor, was actually fused into Thordak, along with a chunk of the elemental plane of fire itself. Which is weird. It is a weird thing. We now know about it, and of course it happened during Winter's Crest when the elemental planes are at their weakest. This is referred to as the Ember Seed by Ryshan. The stone itself, in theory, could be destroyed, and if it is destroyed, it may be the key to finally taking that bastard out. Now, if only they knew how to destroy a supposedly indestructible stone. Keyleth and Ryshan then have a little argument about accepting blame for the things that they do. Ryshan's still very much in denial about the fact that she is partially to blame for the near extinction of the Fire Ashari. Keyleth is actually still convinced that her Armente somehow opened up the elemental plane of fire even more, even though I'm still not convinced that actually happened, but she's very much convinced and she blames herself, but she accepts that, unlike Ryshan, who doesn't accept her parts. And Keyleth is willing to accept the fact that they need each other for now, so she'll let that go for now. In fact, she may even have some ideas about curing Ryshan. After all, she now has the Spire of Conflux, apparently an artifact of Melora, the goddess that the druid that originally gave Ryshan her soul curse worshipped. Keyleth again points out that they really don't need her for this. She needs them. She needs the corpse. She needs to know how to get that cure. Of course, Vox Machina doesn't want to give her that control. Next steps are discussed. Percy again apologizes for the shock of whatever just happened, but he knows that he needed to do it so that all cards are on the table. He didn't want to lie to anyone. He wanted full disclosure, which is a noble thing. Still, though, he could have fucking killed everyone. Speaking of not saying everything, Vax is still very much convinced convinced that she's got some other plan up her sleeve, that she wants to do something else, like maybe summon Vecna or something. He's just convinced. Tells her to shut the fuck up a couple times too. He's very pissed. After which Keyleth suggests maybe that they should all have a recess from their meeting for now because things are getting a little tense. Raishan then suggests guiding the chaos that is Thordak's attack in a way that's beneficial. Then more talk of bait. Vox Machina, of course, being Thordak's main target right now. After all, they fell 2 of his dragons, 3 of them actually. But they figure, hey, wouldn't the best bait be the 4th dragon dying? They think maybe if they could spread the news that Raishan died, they'd be able to get Thordak away because he no longer has an army of dragons to fight for him. He has to do the dirty work himself. Raishan thinks, yeah, there may actually be something to that plan. It'd be relatively easy to do, apparently. While those plans are discussed, the rest of the meeting is asked whether or not they're cool with the plans. Allura is not exactly happy that they're working with one of the dragons that held her home, but she knows that it's okay for now because if Raishan really wanted Whitestone destroyed, she would have destroyed it a long time ago. So she figures that's as good a sign of good faith as they're gonna get for a while. She wants to confirm, though, that the real Seeker Assume is still very much alive. And Raishan says, yeah, no, he's cool. Insight check by Keyleth, who realizes that she's slippery, but she seems honest about this, at least. Crew really want to see Assume, but Raishan's hesitant because they don't exactly have time. Grog points out that she is basically their bitch. She is their errand boy, because they can help her get what she wants. She decides to head to Iman after that. Just so everyone's clear, Grog decides to confirm to everyone that Assume was Raishan. Just so everyone knows. Good on you, Grog. Percy apologizes once again, but Cassandra is not having any of it. She is genuinely frightened, noting that she can do a lot of things for the people of Whitestone, but she can't defend Whitestone against Thordak. She is now begging Percy to pull Whitestone out of this. And of course, he says that he's going to do everything he can. The twins are convinced that Raishan is definitely the more dangerous of the two. Percy notes, though, that offing her won't work because she's incredibly slippery. To keep everyone else honest, they decide to move to the real war room in the Ziggurat, a place where no magic can penetrate. Thankfully, while in the field, no one seems to be lying about who they are. They are all enchantment-free. The crew then corroborate Raishan's claims that she fought alongside them during the Vorogol fight, and just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And they also confirm that she's sick, smart, and knows all of the things. All the goings on in Whitestone. And Vox Machina then just decides, hey, yeah, we're gonna kill Thordak first. Raishan's last. It's the best way. In fact, it's probably their only move. The orb is brought back into discussion. Allura is still convinced that it's dangerous. Probably can't be moved. Probably. Percy's gonna try to engineer a solution for that. But Scanlan's convinced that using the orb is not a good idea. In fact, it's probably still a dud. More details about the orb are discussed, like the fact that its anti-magic field extends about half a mile. Percy wants to test the orb and its capabilities. Grog points out that they actually do have one thing that they could probably do before heading out to face Thordak. Retrieve the last vestige, Plate of the Dawn Martyr, that's currently the city of brass inside the elemental plane of fire. They begin a bit of testing, with Kiki conjuring up a pixie and shooting it into the anti-magic field. Pixie's totally fine for now. Feels a bit queasy, but nothing else. It's not quite... Well, it is definitely anti-magic, but the pixie's fine. Kiki then tells the pixie to go touch the orb because she's a terrible person. No, she's not. Pixie's fine. It disappears. It's fine, though. Probably. Allura then discusses the variety of things that have already been tossed into the orb, including Percy's writing desk chair. Cassandra approved that one. The idea of using a teleport circle to throw Thordak into the orb is discussed, but ends up being a big nope. They then decide maybe it's a good idea to go to the fire plane and get the Plate of the Dawn Martyr. Other battlegrounds are discussed, with Singorn and Fort Daxio coming up. Grog and Percy are convinced that Raishan won't show her face again until the final battle itself. Preparation is discussed. They end up deciding that Fort Daxio might be the best place to go because it is a fort and it's a great place to gather their forces, keep all their eggs in one basket, and make the best damn omelet they can. Keyleth is still thinking about the idea of maybe faking the fact that she has a cure and then killing Raishan herself, is talked down from that plan by Allura, who says that you can't fool a green dragon, and if Allura says so, it is law. Her word is law. Allies are once again brought into the discussion with the idea of getting them all to go to Fort Daxio. They figure the best way to get the Slayer's Take to be involved in this is to take out a contract for the death of Thordak. After all, they've got plenty of gold and platinum to fund that. Unfortunately, Keyleth is very scared about the idea, though, because she doesn't want to throw her friends into the line of fire, but everyone convinces her that that's not the case. They're going to plan and they're going to make sure they minimize their casualties, because they know that people are going to die. They themselves may die, but they're going to take Thordak down. Keyleth decides to move forward, assuming that Raishan knows everything, knows their entire plan, knows every goddamn thing. Even though she technically can't scry on them, she's convinced that Raishan knows everything. She's also a little worried about walking into traps. Vex and everyone just tell her that they are going to have to fight. The fight is going to happen whether or not it happens now or happens a year from now or happens a decade from now. It's going to happen. Besides, they're not stupid enough to follow Raishan's proposed plans. They're following their own. In fact, she's following their plans. And then decide Fort Daxio is definitely the place to go. Pyre then checks with the rest of the council to see if they're cool with the plan. They're all good. Alora gives them a letter that tells the people at Fort Daxio that this shit's gonna happen because she's on the council and she can fucking do whatever she wants. The meeting ends. Next stop, Fort Daxio, and a plan. At dawn? Maybe. We'll see. And we've reached the end of yet another episode. Is shit going crazy? Sound off in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like what you see. You can also follow me on Twitter here, and you can follow this Twitter for episode updates. I've been Arthur from Natural 9, and oh god, is it Thursday yet?